Close your eyes. No, actually, keep them wide open. You're going to want to see this. What if I told you that the most complex, most ancient, most soulful food on this planet doesn't come from Paris, doesn't come from Tokyo? It comes from a continent that the world has been sleeping on for centuries. This is African food culture. And by the end of this video, you will never, ever look at this continent the same way again. Welcome back to Hidden Africa, the channel where we don't just show you Africa, we make you feel it. If you're new here, do yourself a favor. Hit that subscribe button and turn on the bell right now. Because every single week, we uncover the stories, traditions, and secrets that mainstream media will never tell you. Today, we're going on a journey that stretches across 54 countries, thousands of ethnic groups, and millions of kitchens. We're exploring traditional African food, not from a textbook, from the pot, from the fire, from my grandmother's hands. Stay with me, every region is going to blow your mind. And wait till you see what Central Africa is hiding. Let me tell you something. My grandmother told me when I was 7 years old, standing on a wooden stool so I could see over the edge of her cooking pot, she said, "If you want to know who a people truly are, don't read their books, taste their food." And she was right, because African cuisine is not just flavor, it is memory. Every single dish on this continent carries 10,000 years of migration, trade, survival, and celebration. When Arab traders brought cinnamon and cardamom across the Sahara, Africa didn't just accept it, she transformed it. When the Portuguese brought chili peppers and tomatoes from the Americas in the 16th century, African cooks took those ingredients and built entirely new culinary languages around them. African dishes that we consider ancient today, many were born from this collision of worlds. This beautiful, delicious collision. And the foundation. Grains like sorghum, millet, teff, and fonio crops that were domesticated right here on African soil long before wheat ruled the Western world. This is where food began. Remember that? Let's start in the north, where the Sahara meets the Mediterranean. And the food tastes like a love letter written in saffron. The Moroccan tagine, slow cooked in clay over coals, layers of sweet and savory married together in a way that shouldn't work, but absolutely does. Lamb, prunes, cinnamon, honey. It's North Africa's masterpiece, and you can smell it 3 streets away in the Medina. Crossing to Egypt and the streets of Cairo hand you kashari, a dish so humble, so working class, that it became the heartbeat of an entire nation. Lentils, rice, pasta, fried onions, and a vinegar tomato sauce that punches you right in the soul. It costs almost nothing. It feeds millions. That's the genius of North African food. And Tunisia. Tunisia gave the world harissa, that fiery red paste that makes everything it touches come alive. North Africa doesn't whisper. It sings. But I promise you, you've probably never tried an authentic home-cooked tagine from a Berber village in the Atlas Mountains. That version, that's a different religion. Now we arrive in West Africa, and I need you to lean in for this one, because this right here, this is where flavor was born. You cannot, I repeat, you cannot talk about African food culture without talking about jollof rice. And you definitely cannot talk about jollof without talking about the Jollof War. Nigeria says, theirs is the best. Ghana says, please sit down. Senegal quietly reminds everyone that jollof literally originated from the Wolof people on their soil. Cameroon has entered the chat. Even Liberia wants a word. I'm not picking a side. I refuse. But I will say this, if you've only ever had jollof from a restaurant abroad, you have not had jollof. The real one is cooked in a massive pot at a Nigerian Owambi party, where the rice at the bottom is burnt just right. That smoky, crispy layer they call party jollof. That is the version that changes lives. And then there's Nigerian food beyond jollof suja on the roadside at midnight, the smoke carrying ground peanut and cayenne into the night air. Egusi soup so rich and green, it looks like the earth itself melted into your bowl. Pounded yam so smooth, it stratas like silk. Senegal's kiabojien, Ghana swaki, with chic. West African food is loud, generous, communal, and absolutely unapologetic. It doesn't ask for your approval. It demands your respect. If West Africa is fire and boldness, then East Africa is aroma and mystery. This is the coast that welcomed the world. For over 1,000 years, Arab, Persian, Indian, and Portuguese traders landed on these shores. And they didn't just bring goods, they brought flavor. The African spices of the East African coast, cloves, cardamom, cinnamon, turmeric, they weren't imported traditions. They were woven into the DNA of a cuisine that was already ancient. Let me tell you a micro story. I once sat in a small home in Addis Ababa during a coffee ceremony. The woman roasting the beans told me, "Coffee was born here. It belongs to us before it belongs to anyone." She said it with such quiet pride, it almost made me cry. And then she served Ethiopian injera, that beautiful, spongy, tangy flatbread, covered in a mosaic of stews. Doro wat, with its deep Berber heat. Misir wat, the lentil stew that hums with warmth. You eat with your hands. You tear, you scoop, you share. There are no plates, there are no walls between you and the person beside you. That's East African food. It connects you. Kenya's nyama choma grilled meat so smoky and tender, it falls apart in your fingers. Tanzania's pilaf, fragrant with cumin, cinnamon, and cardamom. You've probably never tried the Zanzibari version made with coconut milk. And trust me, that version will ruin you for all other rice. Down south, the fire speaks a different language. Welcome to the land of the South African braai. And no, this is not a barbecue. Don't you dare call it that in front of a South African. This is a ritual. Boerewors, thick, coiled sausage, spiced with coriander and cloves, sizzling next to marinated pap and shakulaka on the side. A cold drink in hand. The fire isn't just cooking the food. The fire is the center of the gathering. In Southern Africa, you don't eat and leave. You eat and you stay. You tell stories until the coals turn to ash. My aunt in Zimbabwe, I remember her making sadza with her arms that looked like they could carry the world. She'd stir that pot with a wooden stick thicker than my wrist, and she'd say, "A home without sadza is not a home." She fed the whole street every single day. That's not just cooking, that's love as labor. That's Southern African food rooted in fire, community, and an open door that never closes. And Namibia's kapana, freshly grilled beef strips sold at open-air markets, seasoned with chili salt, eaten while standing in the dust and the sun. It's one of the most underrated African dishes on the continent. You've probably never heard of it, but once you try it, you'll never forget it. Now we enter the heart. The hidden heart. If there's one region the world knows the least about when it comes to African cuisine, it's Central Africa. And that is a crime, because what's cooking in these jungle kitchens is extraordinary. Cameroon's ndoli, a bitter leaf stew cooked with groundnuts, shrimp, and sometimes beef. So complex in flavor that every bite unfolds like a chapter in a novel. The Democratic Republic of Congo's Mon chicken, simmered in a thick golden palm nut sauce that clings to the meat like it's afraid to let go. This is authentic African food at its most primal, most untouched, most honest. In Gabon, they smoke fish over slow wood fires and serve it with cassava leaves, pounded into a silky green stew. These are hidden African recipes, the kind you won't find on Instagram, the kind passed mouth to mouth, mother to daughter, fire to fire for generations. Central Africa doesn't perform for cameras. It cooks for family, and that's what makes it sacred. You want the real Africa. Forget the five-star restaurants. Go to the streets. African street food is where the continent's heartbeat is loudest. The woman frying akara at 5 a.m. in Lagos, feeding the workers heading to the factory. The boy in Accra tossing kalawel, spiced fried plantain in a paper bag and handing it to you with a smile wider than the Atlantic. The Chipsy Mai vendor in Dar es Salaam, flipping an Agon fries omelet in a pan so seasoned it probably has its own ancestors. These are the kings and queens of African food. No Michelin stars, no applause, just consistency, pride, and a recipe that lives in their hands. And here's what the world is finally waking up to. African food culture is no longer a secret. Jollof rice trends on TikTok. Ethiopian restaurants are in every major city on earth. Nigerian chefs are winning international awards. Traditional African food is being reimagined, elevated, and celebrated, and it's about time. But let me be clear, African food was never waiting for validation. It was always extraordinary. The world is just finally catching up. Africa is not one flavor. It is a symphony. 54 countries, thousands of languages, and millions of kitchens where love is the first ingredient, and the last one too. If this video made you hungry, good. If it made you curious, even better. If it made you feel proud, then we've done our job. Subscribe to Hidden Africa and turn on that notification bell so you never miss a single story. Drop a comment right now. Tell me your country and your favorite dish. Let's see which nation shows up the loudest. And if you want to taste this in real life, our food tours and collaborations are open. Reach us on WhatsApp 255 754 825 400. Come eat with us. Come home to Africa. The pot is always on. The door is always open. We'll see you next week.